Erik Duran, the former NYPD cop accused of throwing a cooler at a suspect, causing a deadly crash, is now facing a multitude of charges, including manslaughter for the August incident. Want to turn now to Fox 5 New York's Briella Tomasetti on the ground in New York with the latest on this. Good morning, Briella. What are we learning about these charges?
Yeah, Giacomo, good morning to you. So this arraignment actually comes exactly 5 months after that 30-year-old victim, I should say, Eric Duprey, lost his life. Supporters of the NYPD sergeant who killed him say that he was simply doing his job. He did what he had to do to stop that suspect from getting away. Prosecutors, though, say he abused his authority, and that's the argument that you'll hear play out in this story.
FTP, the police! FTP, the police!
Tensions flared outside the Bronx criminal courthouse as NYPD Sergeant Erik Duran was inside being arraigned on manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide, and assault charges. Anti-police protesters stood near the courtroom doors, surrounded by a sea of officers who were there to keep the peace and support their brother in blue. 30-year-old Eric Duprey was killed on August 23rd after being knocked off his motorcycle during a buy-and-bust operation. According to the NYPD, Duran was working undercover when he bought drugs from Duprey on Aqueduct Avenue in Kingsbridge Heights. Duprey got on his bike and took off before police were able to make an arrest. This surveillance video shows the moment Duran hurled a cooler at Duprey's head, causing him to lose control of the bike, hit a parked car, and fall to the ground. Duprey leaves behind a wife and 3 young children. The state attorney general's office is handling his case.
The defendant knew or should have known that throwing the cooler at Mr. Duprey would either harm him or distract him and ultimately cause a collision. The defendant was aware of these risks and disregarded them.
Immediately after Duprey's death, Duran was suspended from the NYPD without pay and later put on modified duty. His defense attorney argued that Duprey was responsible for his own death and said his client threw the cooler to prevent kids playing nearby from being hit by the speeding motorcycle.
He was the only object he had available to him to try to stop, and that was a cooler. We don't dispute these facts, Judge. It's a matter of whether or not Sergeant Duran was justified in his actions. Unequivocally, he was.
Duran is free on a $150,000 bond. He's due back in court on April 18th, and he could face up to 25 years in prison if convicted. So these are some very serious charges he's facing. For now, we're live here outside the 44th Precinct in the Bronx. Giacomo, back to you.
All right, I remember reporting on that story initially when it happened. A shocking one for sure. We'll definitely have to see how things play out in court. Briella Tomasetti there in New York with the latest.